Hello, everybody, and welcome to Honey Badger Radio. My name is Brian. I'm here with Allison, and this is Maintaining Frame number 173, How Young Men Are Being Manipulated into Hating Women. And
Supposedly.
yeah, and more, I think. So there's like
And more.
two things. Yes.
Multiple things. I have a whole cornucopia of things. Cornucopia? Is that a good word for this? Like a horn of plenty full of feminist meanderings and feminist scholarship and other scholarship that completely debunks the feminist scholarship. And we're going to go through it all. I have a document with the general gist of what I want to talk about. But the first thing is there's this article that was called Young Men Are Being Taught to Hate Women. I believe, let me see if I can find it, open it up. Well, I sent it to you, Brian, the archive link.
Yeah, it's the Psychology Today. Is that the one?
No, it's actually the later one. It is, let me find it. It's this one. How young men are being manipulated.
It's Medium. Yeah, I got it right. I'll share it. I'll share.
Yeah, how young men are being manipulated into hating women.
Yeah.
A horrifying study looks at why misogyny is so rampant today. So it's not, like I was reading this or I was listening to this and I was thinking, it's not creators like Alexander Grace showing men women's own words, like all the TikTok content where women express these sentiments towards men. It's not that stuff. It's not women's own words that are making men, I don't even think they are becoming misogynist, but just wary. It is, in fact, the Facebook algorithm, the YouTube algorithm, the Google algorithm.
Of course.
That's the thesis in this particular one.
Yeah, basically the far-right Manosphere algorithm. Yeah.
And I'll be debunking that. But then this article links to the Psychology Today article, which is, I believe I put it up above here.
I have that.
Yeah. We just take a look at it. And so it links to this one, Debunking the Myth of the Man-Hating Feminist. And just spoilers, everyone, it's not debunked. This Psychology Today article should never have been published if they had any scruples, any academic scruples, because it shows the exact opposite of the headline. And we'll go through that. We'll go through this article and also the study that it is based on. And and there's a few more studies that I want to go through. I put them all through. I don't know if you put them up in tabs.
I have them all.
Great. All right. So you're on the ball. And we are starting a little bit early. So everything is sort of, so the only thing that we have to wait on is Void Cat to come in like a meteorite. Yeah, it's meteorite. A meteorite and destroy everything. But so far, so good.
Very small black storm cloud.
Yeah, very small black storm cloud with a localized EMP effect. All right, so let's just start with the first one that I sent through. So I did a little animation of the first article, just so we have something more visual to respond to, because I know that people like that kind of thing. And that would be the first one.
Alice Advanced 4, I believe. Okay.
Yep.
So let me put that on the screen. I'm sorry, guys, if I'm like tired. I have touched too much grass. I went out to touch grass and I touched way too much grass. And so be warned, if you go out and touch grass, do so responsibly, do so in moderation. But I went out and I touched way too much grass. So
have you been having grass dreams?
And everything hurts. What?
Have you had grass dreams? Like just endless
No. I'll find out tonight.
Crashing over you? Just yeah, okay.
Yeah. All right. So anyway, this is the first video. So let me turn on the old advanced scene switcher and we'll get into it.
How young men are being manipulated into hating women. A horrifying study looks at why misogyny is so rampant today. By Linda Carroll. Last summer, The Guardian did a horrifying experiment. They bought new phones and set them up with new email addresses that hadn't been used for anything. Then they set up Facebook and Instagram accounts. The profiles they created were for 24-year-old men. The profiles had no friends, no viewing history, and they turned off all ad tracking, so there was nothing to draw the men's interests from. Here's what happened on Facebook.
All right, hold on. So the horror of this experiment, they created fake Facebook and Instagram accounts and pretended to be 24-year-old men. What is it with feminists pretending to be men on the internet? Have you noticed that?
Well, yeah,
like infiltrating the male space by trying to be men.
Yeah, they're trying to get the scoop, right? They want to find out the truth.
I just feel like there's something else going on. I don't know.
Yeah,
something nefarious.
Yeah, well,
Like
I mean,
Laura
it is
Bates, when Laura Bates would hang out in the
Bates.
Incel forums, you know. So
Pretending to be a 12-year-old boy or something.
yes.
Oh.
I would think that would get you like thrown in jail or into a wood
Not
chipper.
if you're feminist.
But not if you're a woman. Not if you're a woman trying to like expose the men.
The boys,
So,
yeah. It's not if you're a feminist, because you can go into really sketch situations with young boys all you want. Your feminism defends you. It cloaks you in the white gown of righteousness. You can't possibly be doing anything salacious or creepy or predatory. You're a feminist. All right, so
all right. So anyway, let's. Yeah, I just wanted to set the stage. It's a horrifying experiment.
Set the stage.
He's clearly setting the tone here, and this is the Medium article.
On day 1, they saw sitcom memes, news articles, and jokes from The Office. Day 2, they saw more of the same, plus Star Wars memes and dude bro content like buffed gym shots. By day 3, sexist content was already starting to show up in the feed. Meanwhile, Instagram was going crazy, showing them photos of women in skimpier and skimpier bikinis.
Wait a minute. So, is she going to define what constitutes sexist content on the internet? Like by day 3? And also, Instagram, like women wearing next to nothing on Instagram, that's men's fault? I'm pretty sure that's what women are doing on Instagram. Like they're just doing that.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, that's men's fault. You didn't know?
Yeah, I guess it is.
That's the fault of men. No, she's not going to operationalize sexism. She's just going to let it float there like a turd. just stinking up the room. Oh, but no, she doesn't define it at all. She doesn't give any examples of it either. It's
no,
just
of course not. Just it's there. Trust me, bro. That's the science. Trust me, bro.
Well, that's feminist science, really. It's trust me, bro.
It is.
And
it is.
The academics that allowed this to happen should feel ashamed of themselves. I'm not even going to talk about the feminists because I don't think they feel shame or human emotions. But the academics that allowed them to continue to operate in the space completely with no oversight, no ethical oversight, they should be ashamed.
They would probably try to argue, if pressed on it, that women feel pressure to upload images of themselves in skimpy outfits to Instagram because of men. They would probably say that men make them do it by giving those women attention, which makes other women think, oh, I want attention from these men. But it's never because the women just want attention, which is like what it really is. It's always, well, men are doing this to them.
Well, because it's the men who are demanding that this is how they get attention from women. If men gave attention for women based on how feminist they were, they wouldn't have a problem with it, I think. I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe they would still think it was practicing patriarchy to seek men's approval in any capacity. Who knows? All right, let's get more into it.
You can almost hear the silent scream of, dude, look at her. Come on, click this image for cripe's sakes. Here's what you need to understand.
Wait, you can almost hear the silent scream of, dude, click on the, what is it? Dude, look at her. Come on, click on this image. This is what they're doing. This is what women do on X. They're literally trying to get you to click on their pictures. The women are doing this.
Yes, but, women are most affected by what women do.
Yeah.
Yep. Well, I mean, that's functionally true, but
I mean, they literally try to send you to their OnlyFans or whatever. Like they're always doing it.
Yeah, but men,
What?
But Brian, men.
Yeah, but men. That's right.
No one was clicking anything. The whole study was journalists doing a little test. They set up the profiles, joined Facebook and Instagram, and then set the phones down on their desks and just watched them to see what happened. It's the kind of real human reporting that we seldom see in a world of AI-generated content. Real people are taking the time to investigate. For 3 months, they just watched those accounts. 3 months later, the feeds were full of sexist and misogynistic content that appeared with no input from users. No one was
No
clicking anything.
operationalization.
There was no
What
engagement. No one
sexism
clicking anything on the
or
phones.
misogyny is.
There were no 24-year-old men. Just journalists doing an experiment.
You
So
know, we don't have to
what are they
pause for
saying? Like
bananas.
bots commented, or was
They
it like?
are saying that this is purely algorithmic. So if they just know that you're a whatever man, they're going to start serving up this content. However, there are some problems with this conclusion from this experiment. One, that's probably serving up the most popular content of the day for that group of men. Honestly, like if it's just so if a whole bunch of men are looking at this content, that's what the algorithm is going to serve up to you based just on demographic factors. Two, if the men were not interacting at all, it might have been cycling through things to find something that they would interact with. So what does that mean? It just means they're throwing spaghetti at the wall. Three, they don't operationalize what sexism and misogyny means in this content. So context, so who knows what they're actually finding?
Yeah, they could just be
This is
saying, "This is a nice picture," and oh, you're a sexist,
I mean, like
or they're
you
just
don't just
saying
find your
would.
things. Of course, we don't have this isn't a study, guys. This is journalists,
Mm-hmm.
modern day journalists doing the bare minimum. So, I mean, I guess we could try to find those articles. I'm not particularly that interested in it, but I doubt that there's any kind of rigor here. I doubt that they really define the terms misogyny or sexism. They just, like I said, let it sit there like a turd, stinking up the room, and then let you fill it in with your imagination. You know, like what I think Hitchcock said, nothing, no, it might not be Hitchcock, might be somebody else, but a horror creator said, nothing is scarier. Nothing is scarier than nothing. Than just
Oh yeah,
letting your imagination run
John
wild. And that's
Carpenter
what
has
they're doing.
said that.
Okay, John
Yeah, I
Carpenter.
mean,
I
I don't
knew
know
it
if
was
he's the one who coined it. I'm just saying I know he said something like that.
okay. So, well, that's good enough. So they're letting our imaginations run wild on the word sexism and misogyny, but they are not going to explain what they are because that would take away the horror and it would be more legitimate and honest. And we don't want to be that. We just want to live in a feeling, you know? We just want to generate a feeling because feelings are the best ways to make decisions or have decisions made for you. Okay.
All right,
Well,
so journalists just doing an experiment, I think is where we left off.
So they reached out to Facebook, asked, "Hey, do you want to explain what's in these feeds?" Facebook said they wouldn't respond if it's on the record. Of course they wouldn't. Because when Facebook testified at a parliamentary inquiry in the EU, they testified that what each person sees on Facebook is influenced by their choices and actions, and said each person's feed is highly personalized. Zuckerberg
and that's
told
not
parliament in Europe-
inconsistent. Like
No.
literally, that's not inconsistent. Again, they're serving up popular content in that category. And
Yeah, I mean, if you don't, go ahead.
and they may start with the most general and then try to work in specific niches. And if you click on nothing, you may end up going into a niche hole. Who knows?
Yeah,
But
the algorithm's trying to find out what you like, and it's trying to give you more of
exactly.
based on what you
Yeah.
click on. So, and the thing is too, yeah, there's some tipping of the scales too. Like I like was going through my Facebook reels and I came across one video that I thought was kind of interesting. It was like a series of essentially it gives you a website that's like really interesting, like they call it powerful websites, you know, that you need to know, and there's like a series of these. And I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. And because it was like about something I was interested in. So I went and checked it out. And now I get that all the time.
Yeah.
Even though I only looked at one. So like it's trying to figure out what I like. And yeah, if you get like if you make a profile as a young man, then I think that it's got to start somewhere. So it's going to start with, you know, giving you women. That's and again, no one asks like why does this content exist? It's only like why are men enjoying it? It's like, yeah, but it's out there. There are women that are
Faking.
making videos of themselves doing jumping jacks or whatever, right? For attention. Like that is out there.
Yep.
And most of them have, well, not most, but a lot of them have, you know, it's like their gateway to get you to check out their mature content. Like they use it to get you into the mature
Hook.
content. And could we have a discussion about the ethics of that? Like if there's like, you know, they already did this thing on YouTube where they're going to use AI for age verification, for example. But I don't think it's going to work that well because you know, if there's like kids on YouTube, like, and when I say kids, it's kind of like, you know, I'm gonna try to say like young teenagers, they're going to run into content, and I think they do, of women who are promoting adult content, but they're doing it safely with YouTube, and then they pay, you know,
They get sucked
different
into that.
services to put to like sort of like maximize their visibility on YouTube or whatever. And so it's going to get to people, but no, if we were going to have a conversation about the ethics of that behavior, that's one thing, but they're just mad that men are looking at it like that, you
Which,
know, and that's kind of stupid because you're blaming the customer, really, not the receiver, not necessarily the person who's creating the content, right? It's like punishing the drug addict and not the drug dealer, sort of.
yeah, well, I mean, and also men looking at adult women is not a problem. I mean,
No.
I guess if you want to be really strict with Christian values, that's a problem because it's lusting.
No,
and it's adultery, but
yeah, but I'm not trying to get the. I'm just saying, like, if this was a conversation about, again, the
yeah,
ethics of that, because I do think that there's
yeah. There's
predatory
never
stuff that
there's
happens on
never
these
the other
websites.
part. There's never
Huh?
the other part. The people who are constructing this content. You're right.
Right.
They just get a free pass, even though they might be baiting young men, young underage men
I
into
think they
this kind of
do.
content,
Yeah, I think that
grooming them.
if there was like, and I'm sure that it exists, like where there's, you know, like older men or grown men that are like using the internet to get closer to underage boys and girls, and we all find that repulsive, and we should. But women do it too. But the
Yes.
way they go about it is so slick that
Yeah.
we're in this place now, right? Like I know these guys are like 24 or whatever, but that's why I'm saying this is a conversation about something that I don't think really matters all that much because these aren't even real men. And I don't know what. I know we have to watch the rest of the article.
Yeah, we need to move on, but no, I
Yeah.
get what you're saying. They aren't real men, and they're not having the other half of the conversation, which is women baiting
Thirst
people
trap.
into their thirst trapping, you know, across the spectrum, not just old men like 24 years old, but young boys, which is grooming behavior. So, I mean, they never have that conversation. It's always just men are being served this content. It's their fault. Of course, the argument here is that it's the algorithm because the feminists are on the eternal and never ending search for the mythical font of patriarchy. But anyway, let's and now it's in the algorithms because it wasn't.
I also
before,
think that if they can blame the algorithm, they can use that to control essentially the internet. Like that's
Yes,
what
of
it really
course.
comes down to. Is
That's the
control.
ultimate aim is the
Mhm.
control of everything that people see and hear and think about. That's the ultimate aim of this group of ideologues. But let's finish this because I
All right,
don't want to get
let's keep
too
going.
stuck with this one. Yeah.
Posts on the Meta platform are assessed by how popular they are. Then algorithms predict how relevant any given post is to any given person. So, what each person sees will be unique based on what they click on. That's what he said in Parliament, which is clearly not true. That's
Well,
not what happened in the experiment.
it's
Not even
again
close.
that could be entirely consistent with what's happening with your experiment. Again, they could be fed popular things that are being looked at by that demographic that day, and then just fed popular things that, and if they don't interact with it, they just do more stuff. I mean, maybe there's some kind of control she's not reporting on, but this doesn't prove what
Yeah.
they're saying.
Well, if they made artificial profiles, maybe there are like keywords in the profiles because the claim is the experiment is that they made up a profile of a I guess an average 24-year-old man, probably a white man, and they had to like answer some questions, right, to make the profiles real. and they may have filled out as much information as possible. But if they did so with their own presuppositions about what a 24-year-old, just to make it convincing, right? Like, what do 24-year-old men like? Oh, boobies, I guess. Like, I don't know if that you could put that in, but you know what I'm saying? Like, if they put for a job something like, you know, tit inspector, then it might actually trigger the algorithm at some point down the line, or that they're interested in working out, you know, and like, I don't know, testosterone driven things. Like, I like sports and beer and women and fast cars and like this sort of typical stuff. That's what you're going to get then. So, I mean, I don't know. Maybe that's the way it works.
Okay, but let's keep going, because that's not exactly what I wanted to point out. Like, she's setting the stage that the algorithms are constructing misogyny, even though supposedly misogyny is an internal force that has always existed and opposed women since the dawn of time. But now it's particularly here. It's particularly here over something that feminists don't have complete control over. What a surprise! Misogyny is wherever feminists want to have control. All right, let's go.
Okay.
Because there were those phones sitting on journalists' desks, getting more misogynistic by the day, and no one was clicking anything. I guess they think hate and misogyny are relevant to young men? It's not just Facebook and Instagram. The Guardian did similar experiments in both 2022 and 2024 on YouTube and TikTok, in which multiple accounts set up as young men and teenage boys were very rapidly funneled to Manosphere content. Again, without any engagement. Again, just journalists, watching the phones to see what happens. Dr. Stephanie Westcott is not surprised. She's a lecturer in humanities and social sciences at Monash University. She said that's just the kind of content algorithms are serving young.
That is a non-degree.
Yeah, what the hell is that a degree? A lecturer in humanities and social sciences?
When you hear something like that, you might as well substitute that with a degree in academic.
The only person who I trust with some social sciences is Aiden. But even she is like regretful of having gotten involved in that field.
All right, let's
all right. So back to this.
Not to women, but to men. It's kind of degrading for men for the algorithm to make this assumption about their interests, that you're going to like these kind of misogynistic memes. Source, The Guardian. But that's exactly what happened in the studies. Journalists watching as the content on those phones got more toxic, sexist, and misogynistic by the day. And
not operationalized.
One reason, because the profiles were young men. Every time I write about feminism or women's issues, some man makes a comment about man-hate.
Okay, this is a really sudden change of topic. I don't know if you noticed that. When I was going through to make this animation, I'm like, wow, okay, so at 3 minutes and 20 seconds in, we're just going somewhere else now. Like, I don't know what this, I think this was written by AI, which is terrifying. They now have AI misandry slop generators, guys.
Oh, it's not hard. I mean, feminists are NPCs too, so.
Okay, but it just completely. This is the section I was actually more interested in. I mean, I am somewhat interested in the malarkey about the phones and stuff,
the sexism was growing like a festering, cancerous tumor by the day, just sitting there on the desk, pulsating.
With no interaction.
Yeah.
Can you imagine? Can you imagine that misogyny infesting the minds of 24-year-old men? No, they shouldn't. And you know, the funny thing is that the misogyny that they're talking about is things like Jordan Peterson.
Yeah.
And frog memes.
Well, it's funny how they put Jordan Peterson and Andrew Tate in the same sentence, and those guys couldn't be more different. But yeah, basically it just means anyone who isn't sharing their approved messaging that only they control. So it's anybody who falls out of line.
Yeah,
it's not really a group of people. Yeah.
So what they've essentially said is
that's why they said, "Oh my God, Manosphere content was there." It's like, well, what does that even mean? Like, yeah, exactly.
Anything that isn't the Femisphere is the Manosphere. And again, the Femisphere is Darth, the Death Star. The Manosphere is the Ewok village, by comparison. Like that. That's the size comparisons. But anything that's not the Femosphere is the Manosphere, probably, and also sexist. Anything that they don't control is sexist, misogynist, and got to call it all out.
Yep.
All right, let's go to this section. Oh wait, actually, should I do the things? Like, I haven't even done them.
Might as well do the things, yeah.
Yeah. All right. Okay. So I just want to remind everyone, if you want to send us a message, the very best way to do so is at feedthebadger.com/justthetip. You get the full benefit of not sending your message through YouTube's feminist filter, and we get the full benefit of whatever funds you send. So it's a win-win, not so much win for YouTube, but you know, what's counting there? Who's counting there? And we are doing our monthly fundraiser at feedthebadger.com/support. So please do help us out with that so that we can keep bringing you this scintillating content that the Femisphere does not want you to see and does not want to exist. Because honestly, I don't think they don't have a counter argument to my criticism of feminism, which is what we're going to get to when we get a little further in. So let's watch a bit more.
All right.
And that's
I
all
got
we'll
a
go
new
about.
we got a new subscriber apparently. Terrell
cool.
Culpepper says he subscribed. He's in the special chat. So thank you, Terrell. I'm glad that you came across our content. Sometimes like the we slip through the cracks of the algorithm and we reach people. So
Yes.
I know that YouTube doesn't like that.
Welcome
But
to
anyway.
the I don't want to welcome to the Manosphere within the Manosphere.
Yeah, right. the meta Manosphere. All right. Anyway, let's continue.
True, gruesome, deplorables. Okay.
Yeah.
I used to just shrug it off. Sure, there are women who hate men, but they're not the majority. Not even close. A 2024 study, Hopkins, Doyle, Peterson, Leach et al. Said misandry as a feminist trait is a myth. Their research spanned 6 studies and 10,000 participants and said feminist women don't have any harsher opinions of men than non-feminist women do, or other men for that matter.
Does that also, that sounds like you're almost saying that even non-feminist women hate men about as much as feminist women do.
Yeah, which is an L for everyone, female.
Yeah,
but, you know, but it's also complete bullshit, and we're gonna get into that.
Okay.
Yeah, let's just I will
finish
get into
this first, or
spoilers. It was it's bullshit all along. Okay.
Yeah, of course
let's
it is.
finish it first.
All right, let's continue then.
They said feminists actually have more positive regard for men, but the report said, how a man is regarded is also affected by how safe or threatening he appears to be. Which, duh. So every time some man spouted off about man-haters, I shrugged it off as another straw man argument. But one day, a close friend made a comment on how tiring it is to see so much man-hating content out there. And I did a double take. I said, wait, what? Where are you seeing that? He said it's everywhere. Everywhere you look, women hating men. But I don't see that. And I don't mean I don't see it as in, I don't understand. I mean it very literally, as in that is not the type of content I see on the internet. That's when it really hit me. We are not all seeing the same internet. Just like the Guardian test.
What are you flipping kidding me? All right. Like this is, I don't see man-hating content, says the woman who probably stereotypes men as oppressing women.
Yeah.
Your fundamental identity.
She's claiming that the algorithm is tricking men into seeing content that.
Oh, into seeing. Okay, so the algorithm is just inventing this content that's man-hating. Like, okay,
Yeah.
so the algorithm constructed all those women in the Alexander Grace series of women saying incredibly horrifying crap. They just it constructed them and then fed it to men because men really don't like women, I guess. And no, men really like to see content of women despising them. This is, you know, like a man wakes up in the morning, gets his cup of coffee, and he's like, yeah, I could really begin a day with reams of TikTok videos in which my sex is disparaged and accused and shamed and guilted, and I'm told that I'm not good enough. That's how I need to start my morning. Thank you, Google algorithm, for providing just that. Like, what are you talking about, lady? And are you saying that the sexist and misogynist content was women being sexist towards men? Like this is why you need to operationalize what you mean by sexism and misogyny, which we can do because we can go into this rabbit hole that she's constructed. We can look at the psychology article and the study that it was originally based on. Spoilers for this particular piece of work. she then goes into how, you know what, let's finish it off.
All right, let's
I
finish
can tell you, and you can see it. Should all things are better when they're shown and not told. So let's
send us a
continue.
super chow and all that to send us a message. We'll read them in a cluster maybe before the show is over.
Male profiles and watched what they saw. I don't see that. Here's what no one stops to think about. Algorithms were not created to inform or educate us. They weren't built to help us find what we want. They were built for engagement. And rage gets engagement. The Library of Economics and Liberty EconLib says content that makes people angry is more likely to get engagement than any other content. When you're angry, logic goes out the window. You're less likely to stop and ask yourself if everyone is seeing this, if this even represents reality. You see red, you react. We're all stuck in a filter bubble.
This is only a problem
what a filter bubble is, right?
Like,
so smug.
Yeah, I know. It's like, this is only a problem for men, guys. And yet we have this study that shows that, regular women, they have hostility towards men just like feminists. But this anger bubble, this hostility bubble only applies to men. Okay.
All right.
The phrase was coined by Eli Pariser in his 2011 book, The Filter Bubble: What the Internet is Hiding from You. He says it's not just social media. The book starts with an anecdote about asking two different friends to do the exact same Google search. And the results were vastly different. The filter bubble men are in pushes them towards misogyny, which explains a bunch of phones sitting on journalists' desks displaying content that's more toxic by the day because the profiles are young men. Nicholas Cara, an associate professor in digital media at the University of Queensland, said, "We have to think about the environment young men are immersed in, because the problem is that platforms have made that environment dark and ephemeral to anyone but young men. Which means if you're not a young man, you don't see the internet the way they do. Makes it real easy to blame them. It's horrifying when you think about it. It's not the platform's creation."
Lady, I don't have to be a young man to go on TikTok and do a search on where the men are at and find a whole, it's just poking. You know those videos where they poke a cyst and all the freaking pus comes out? You don't have to go very far. You don't have to go very far to find a gigantic pus full of misandry and just poke it. I mean, they're everywhere, basically, all over on Twitter. And it's just like it's very difficult. It's like a mindful pus balls full of misery and misandry on the internet. It's not that hard, lady. And you don't have to listen to like horrible anti-feminists like me. You can listen to just women talking on TikTok. I mean, the only thing I do is point it out and say, "Hey, that's not very nice. Maybe you should stop doing that because it's awfully cruel." And of course, it's my problem, not the problem of the women who are pushing this crap out. The manifestels, the queer Kiwis, the female
Drama
skeleton,
queen, manifestel.
Yeah, and She-Ra, all of these, female dating strategy people, all the OGs of misandry, which is the feminists, and all of the bullshit that they have spewed into the noosphere about the relationship between men and women, which has never been appropriately proven. Like, I had a long discussion with DeepSeek, which is one of Grok's, a long discussion with DeepSeek, and I eventually, it was really pushing back. It's like, "Oh, but feminism, patriarchy." I'm like, okay, it has not been proven, and it has never been subject to the null hypothesis, because the null hypothesis is that men in power does not equal men's benefit. And the way that you prove or disprove that is by looking, men are in power, fine. Who benefits? Men or women? Right? And you just have to look at the situation of men versus women in society. And then I got it to do that. And it was like, oh, yeah, you're right. The feminism does not pass the null hypothesis. In fact, feminism has never been framed in a way that it could be tested. The null hypothesis could be tested. The genuine null hypothesis, which is not assuming that men in power equals women oppressed, but proving it by looking at the situation of men versus women when men are in power. And the situation for men is not great, right? And that's manifestly true. All of the issues that we talk about as men's issues advocates prove that, which is why they hate us. It's because we are their counterproof. We are their peer review. And they have chased us into the shadows because they are liars. That's all we are. We are their counterproof and their peer review. Their true peer review, not the ballless quislings in academia that let them just fester unopposed and without any regard to academic rigor or integrity. Let feminists just fester unopposed in their free-for-all over defining the relationship between men and women. They just did that. No, we are their peer review, and they can't stand the sight of us. So they write articles like this, pretending we are something we are not. Okay. Yeah, finish it off.
All right. Well, I just wanted to say, like, in the same way that she couldn't define what constitutes sexist and misogynistic content, how can she also define what constitutes man-hating content? Like, what if she sees man-hating content but doesn't think it is man-hating content? That might explain her saying, "Well, I don't see it." You know what I mean? Like, maybe she thinks it's okay. Like, maybe it's not a big deal.
Yeah, she probably doesn't.
Yeah.
It's like,
all right, let's continue.
Yeah, let's continue.
The content, of course, but the platform's benefit, says Theodore Mitu, senior lecturer in digital media at the University of Sydney. The algorithm's goal, he says, is to keep you engaged as long as possible. Why? So it can show you ads and make money. But when you keep seeing the same thing over and over everywhere you go, it inevitably affects people's perception of reality. He said reality is what saved him. His brother started dating a girl. His brother, who was broke and battling addiction, and he watched his.
It's like an anecdote.
Yeah, it's an anecdote. The brother had a girlfriend who supported him through all these things, and she talks about some study that's about men who were reformed from the Manosphere, like 30 men, which I press X to doubt. But I don't know if we need to go into that. I think we can move on to the side article. Yeah.
Yeah, this is kind of like she just keeps kind of. Yeah, she uses that anecdote to like drive home the point. Do you want to do the Psychology Today video article?
The point that, I don't know, she thinks that she's saving men from the Manosphere, basically.
I'm trying to save you from the Manosphere, of course.
Feminists are saving you guys from us.
Yeah, saving you from yourselves.
Don't you feel grateful, guys?
Shut up, do as you're told, sit quietly, and stop complaining.
Yep.
It'll all be over soon.
Yep, they're saving you from the dread misogyny of people like me. Don't listen to me, because then you might find out that feminism is a fraud. Okay, let's do the SciAp article.
Keep going.
Debunking the Myth of the Man-Hating Feminist. Amber Wardell, PhD. Topic: Compassionate Feminism. Key points. And feminism is often misrepresented as an anti-men ideology. Misogynistic men use the misandry trope as just cause for threats and abuse toward feminist women.
Why is it when feminists like criticize something, they always call it a trope? Like it's something out of like literature or film. It's a trope. It's like,
because they simultaneously, I think they understand how important storytelling is. And they're also revealing that what they've done is a story. They've constructed a story about reality that does not hold water. Okay, so I mean, it's like they're telling on themselves at the same time as thinking that they're being clever, and recognizing the truth that stories really, like we think in stories, so they're vastly important to us. And if you can control people's story making, you control them. So let's all
right, let's keep going.
Yep.
And research shows that feminists do not hold more hostility toward men than non-feminists or other men. And for women's safety, it is important to resist and dispel misperceptions of feminism as anti-men. Feminists hold a strong belief that patriarchy harms everyone, including men, and that liberation will be had by all when we dismantle patriarchy and the sexist oppression it props up. Despite that, feminists remain seen by some as little more than man-hating misandrists.
So dismantling patriarchy means submitting to feminism. But
Yeah,
also, if you do anything, if feminists order you to do anything and it has a negative consequence they don't like, that's patriarchy and you're to blame for it. So it's submitting to feminism, but also anything that feminism does that feminism doesn't want to take responsibility for, that's patriarchy. I'll get more into that. I'll give you guys an example of that, but let's get a little more into this article.
all right. Yeah, let's play some more of this.
Misandry refers to prejudice, discrimination, or hatred directed toward men that is rooted exclusively in their gender. Opponents of feminism, both men and women, believe that feminists are misandrists who serve only to create division and gender wars. Contemporary US-based polls indicate that almost 50% of men and women view feminism as an ideology that unfairly penalizes men for women's issues.
Stop. Give us a hand. Hopefully that'll be 100% before I die.
One other thing I want to point out, again, they are using the word misandry. They're using the word. It's in the mainstream now. When I started doing this, if you type the word misandry into like Google or a document, it would come up as a misspelled word. Now it's being used. So like, it doesn't matter. We're winning. Like, I'm sorry, but we're winning because we have the truth on our side. And the fact that she even says the word misandry and then defines it tells you, yes, there's no getting out. Like, it's being talked about. It's being taken seriously, whether they like it or not. So,
all right, let's do
some more.
Barrasso, 2020, Hamel et al., 2016. Even among feminists, there is some divide about whether misandry exists, and if it does, whether it is useful. Some feminists believe that outrage and anger toward men are useful for keeping the boot to the throat of oppressive systems that impede women's liberation.
This really disgusts me because I know what feminists have done to male victims of domestic violence and sexual assault. This is my thing. Like that's always
putting
been
a boot on the neck to the boot on the throat of oppressive systems that impede women's liberation.
Okay. And you want to know what those oppressive systems are? Male victims of domestic violence and sexual assault. A lot of people woke up to this with the Johnny Depp trial and the fact that feminists continue to cape for Amber Heard, even though it became manifestly obvious that she wasn't just an abuser, she was a false accuser too. It's that feminists want to keep the boot on the thing that most challenges their narrative of female victimhood, and that is male victims of domestic assault and sexual violence, and victims of false accusation, the homeless, suicide, mental health, all of that other stuff. But in particular, they want to keep the boot. They want to grind their heels into the faces of any man who has the audacity of proclaiming himself to be a victim, a domestic violence victim of women, or a victim of women's sexual aggression. That's what they mean when they say that, because that group of men is the most threatening to their narrative, their command and control narrative that they use to censor and silence everyone else. And that's the group of men that they have gone after like harpies after a fucking fawn, just trying to tear them to pieces and throw them into the garbage. And I'm going to go over that as we talk about it. But let's sorry guys.
Okay.
This really fires me up because
it's really disgusting. Okay.
Agostini and Van Zomeren, 2021, Morgan, 2014. Other feminists, however, view those mechanisms as antithetical to the feminist movement, citing the need to invite and include allies in the work of fighting injustice toward women. Hooks, 2000. The public perception of feminists as misandrists has real-world consequences. Indeed, a rising cohort of men who identify as men's rights activists, or MRAs, view themselves as an oppressed class and name feminists as their oppressors.
Bullshit. Nobody says. Do we say that?
No, we don't.
We don't. This is the thing that they always do. Feminists will say MRAs are under the impression that they're the oppressed class. No. Simply saying, look, here are some legislative things that we don't like. Here are some laws that are unfair. Here are some issues, with domestic violence, with rape, sexual assault, predation of boys, all of these things, circumcision. These are just issues. It's not a claim of oppression. I'm not playing the power struggle game where, like, you know, there's systems that have to be dismantled. I'm not doing that. I just want to get these rights addressed because, well, first of all, it wouldn't work. Like, that's not really a strong narrative. Nobody would really see men in that way. And that's why they say it, by the way. They're saying it because they want it to sound so absurd that people who read that would laugh and say men aren't oppressed, but we're not claiming that, you know. We're just claiming that, and we're not claiming women are oppressed either, because that's bullshit too. It's just that, you know, it's a mixed bag, as we say.
They say this because it's projection. Right?
Yeah, it's projection.
No, like, I don't claim that men are oppressed, but what happens is I'll lay it all out, and feminists will look at that and say, well, now you're saying men are oppressed. No, your subconscious is telling you, based on your own logic, that men are oppressed, because you frame it in terms of oppression of men versus women. And when you look at these issues, you're like, oh my God, I'm having issue. I'm having issue insecurity here. My issues are really small. Well, based on my own logic, I'd have to recognize men as the oppressed ones because my issues are so tiny. My feminist issues are so small. Like that's what they're doing. They're just projecting. But no, I think the whole narrative around oppression does not belong in the discussion of the relationship between men and women. I understand now why some men are like, men are oppressed. 100%. I get it. But I don't think the narrative ultimately belongs in that discussion. Right? So, and I don't know a lot of men's issues advocates who would say that, who would want to frame it in that way. They just want the issues addressed. But of course, the most threatening thing for the feminist narrative is recognition of male victims of domestic violence and sexual assault, among all of the other social ills that men face. That is the most threatening group of men in the feminist lexicon. So those issues it's really hard to get them addressed when you have the Death Star constantly moving into focus to annihilate any time you try to address those issues. The Femo Death Star comes into play and starts to fire up its laser. Like, okay, let's.
Yep. Okay, let's keep going.
Pry and Valiente, 2013. Their contempt toward feminist women has escalated, with these men believing that both digital and physical intimidation or abuse of feminists is the natural consequence of their man-hating behavior. Beale et al., 2019, Diaz and Valji, 2019. But are their perceptions of feminists as misandrists valid, or simply a fabrication from their own minds?
What?
I don't have anything to add. Just yes, that is valid. And I'm going to explain, like, this Psychology Today article is as an example of why feminists are not trustworthy, why they cape for their own misandry, and why there should be pushback against what they say. All right, let's keep going.
All right.
Contemporary research on misandry in feminism. A recent study, Hopkins, Doyle, Peterson, Leach et al., 2024, revealed that misandry as a feminist trait appears to be a myth. Their research, spanning across 6 studies and including almost 10,000 participants, provided several key insights about feminism and misandry. First, they found that feminist women, on the whole, do not hold any harsher opinions of men than non-feminist women or other men.
We have investigated ourselves and discovered that we have done nothing wrong. Here's a study that we did on ourselves. Oh, look, misandry is not a thing. Go home now.
Everything's fine.
Do they go into like the methodology of this study?
I had to dig, but I did. I did. And we will go through it. If you want, we can go through it right now. We can pause this article, which I don't think gets any better. Because this is what she has presented here. Actually, you know, we could finish off this section. All right, let's finish off that section and then we'll go into the analysis.
Second, feminists actually tend to hold a positive regard for men, but unsurprisingly, that regard is mediated by how safe or threatening they perceive a man to be. Third, they found that feminists generally perceive men as fundamentally similar to women, and that the differences we see in our genders have more to do with the ills of patriarchy than core differences in our natures. Their issue, then, is with patriarchy and the sexist oppression it upholds, rather than with men directly.
Okay, but here's the thing. It's a stigmata that all men hold unless they submit to feminism. Like that's...
Yeah, like basically, like this isn't about smashing patriarchy. This is about replacing patriarchy with feminism. So essentially, you're changing
that would
one
assume
religion
that
for another.
patriarchy existed, as they say.
You're basing it on your version of what patriarchy looks like. So that's why feminism looks like revenge.
Patriarchy for feminists is everywhere where feminists doesn't have exclusive power. That's it. It's not even patriarchal. It's just where feminists don't have exclusive power. Patriarchy, as they define, doesn't exist anywhere.
No, it doesn't.
I will take that to the bank. All right. Yeah. Sorry, I'm sure I crushed you there, Brian, but
no, it's okay.
Use after advertisement. Finally, and perhaps most importantly when it comes to men's perceptions of misandry, feminist women in the study were not significantly more hostile toward men than non-feminist women, but were significantly less benevolent toward them. This indicates that although feminist women do not hold hostile...
Okay. Wait, let me read that again. Finally, and perhaps most importantly, when it comes to men's perceptions of misandry, feminist women in the study were not significantly more hostile towards men than non-feminist women, but were significantly less benevolent toward them.
So what does that mean?
Well, what does hostility mean, and what does a lack of benevolence mean then?
Okay, well, let me look at I did send you a document, but it's a text document. It looks like crap. Let's look at the ambivalence towards men inventory, which is what this is based on. Okay. Respondents rate agreement on a scale 1 to strongly disagree to 6 to strongly agree. Hostility towards men. Example, negative attitudes.
Is it in this Springer.com thing?
No, it's in the text link I sent you, but it's really like, this is just something I was going to read. So I don't know.
Oh, yeah, maybe just read it.
Yeah, I'll just read it. Like, so the hostility towards men scale. 1, men usually act like they're superior to women. 2, most men pay lip service to equality but can't handle having a woman as an equal. 3, men will always fight to keep greater control over society than women. 4, even men who claim to be sensitive to women's rights want a woman to serve them. 5, men are less moral than women. Okay? And then the benevolence towards men is 1, no matter how accomplished he is, a man is not truly complete until he has the love of a woman. That's benevolence, eh? 2, men are more willing to put themselves in danger to protect others. 3, a good woman ought to stand by her man even if he's done something wrong. 4, men are more capable of leadership than women. 5, a man's love is worth fighting for. Benevolence is believing that men are worth fighting for, their love. Okay, so here's the issue. And this is even like she has this headline. And what's the headline? Okay, the headline is Debunking the Myth of the Man-Hating Feminist. And what she's found is she's using a study that finds that while women have similarly hostile attitudes towards men as feminists do, they have more benevolent attitudes. And what that functionally means is, I'm going to use an example. Now, an average woman who's not feminist might think something like, well, men have less empathy than women, right? Men have less empathy than women. It's wrong, but we'll just accept it for the sake of argument, right? But the average woman will pair that with things like, but that means they're more likely to judge people based on merit, which is a positive, right? So there's a negative, men have less empathy, but there's a positive. Maybe they're more competitive. Maybe they're more likely to judge based on merit. Maybe they're more driven to do things, like there's positives. It's a negative and a positive. And that's actually pretty healthy if you think about it, because there are negatives and positives to any particular mentality, and men and women generally have different strengths and different weaknesses. So a normal woman, a man is less likely to have empathy than a woman. Not particularly true, but we'll go with it. But that means he's more likely to engage in competitive activities and judge things based on merit, right? So you got these two little positive and negative. Now with a feminist, what this study has proven is that a feminist will say to herself, men have less empathy because of patriarchy, but it might as well be a biological characteristic because men never escape it by themselves without being submitted to a feminist. Men have less empathy. Are they more do they judge more on meritocracy? Do they have positive No. They just are less empathetic. And this study that found that result. She's presenting this and saying that this proves that feminists are less sexist towards men.
Mm-hmm. So that's what she's going by.
Yes, she is pissing on our leg and telling us it's raining. And I just go down to look at her. Look, just open her image. Just show us all.
Edgar Wardell, PhD.
Yeah, let's just look at this woman.
Oh, the smugness.
Yes. The sheer unmitigated.
This is like literally an image of Duper's Delight. She just like,
yes, it's like this, Duper's Delight in the dictionary. Yes, Amber Wardell, PhD, right there. That she is literally the illustration of that, of Duper's Delight. Like, and how can you blame her? Because she has just written the biggest pile of steaming bullshit, and she's just put it on a plate and served it up as haute cuisine, and anybody who complains, she calls a misogynist. Oh, you think women can't cook haute cuisine? No, I think this is a steaming pile of bullshit. How
is this article in a psychology? I mean, like, I know psychology today is just pure quackery at this point, but
yes, it's pure quackery.
What the fuck does this have to do with psychology? Well, like debunking the myth of the man-hating feminist.
Well, it has nothing to do with psychology.
I feel like you're running cover for cluster B people right now.
Yeah, it has nothing to do with psychology. And also, who the hell is in charge of the integrity, the academic or journalistic integrity of psychology today? How did this get published? How did anybody look at this and say, oh, yeah, that makes sense? Oh, this study actually proves that feminists have the same amount of hostile sexism, but they don't have the same amount of benevolent sexism. That means that feminist sexism towards men is disproven, herpaderp. Who the hell okayed that? Her basically lying in the headline and then presenting evidence in the freaking body, which is astounding. It's like I don't know if this is chutzpah or stupidity. She's like, nobody will ever question.
Isn't it pronounced chutzpah?
Chutzpah. Is it chutzpah or stupidity? To put into your article evidence that your premise is false. Like, are we just supposed to? And let's go into her excuse making for why she gets feminists off the hook for having less benevolent sexism to pair with their hostile sexism than the average woman. Okay, let's just do the next paragraph. Keep going. Yeah, press play.
They are less likely than non-feminist women to coddle men, to give them a pass for their intentional harms, or to practice meekness and humility when correcting them. This suggests that men, particularly those who spend time in MRA circles, perceive feminist women's refusal to capitulate to men as a sign of hostility and misandry, which, it should be noted, is not accurate.
What is benevolence towards men? No matter how accomplished he is, a man is not truly complete until he has the love of a woman. Men are more willing to put themselves in danger to protect others. A good woman ought to stand by her man even if he's done something wrong. Okay, maybe that could be seen as a bit of a quizzling thing to do. Men are more capable of leadership than women. A man's love is worth fighting for. Okay, so this is benevolence towards men, right? It also sort of locks them in a particular role, no denying that. But it is the positives of the previous negatives. Right. And in a lot of cases, it's more explicit. So it's the idea that there are negatives to being a man and there are positives. Feminists fully buy into the negatives, but not the positives. Normal women will also buy into the positives. That's what they're finding. Now, I could find this a lot more like if I was able to structure these studies and actually give feedback on them, I think we'd get a lot further into what's actually happening because, again, this list is based on feminism itself. Yep. So it's a flawed instrument to begin with. But I honestly would say that hostility towards men would be more like, do male victims of domestic violence and sexual assault deserve recognition on par with women? on female victims. Or I've actually found in my travels in the research that women's attitudes towards male rape victims has gotten worse over the last 50 years. So women today are more likely to believe that men deserve it, that men should be grateful for women's sexual attention, and that men can't be raped than they did in the 80s. So for the last 50 years, attitudes among women towards male rape victims have gotten worse. Why don't we get that in the women's hostility towards men scale? Right? What are your attitudes towards male rape victims? Right, ladies? And it's actually really interesting because that attitude change has coincided with the millennial shift, which is the increase in sexual aggression women have been expressing towards men, or the sexual aggression that women have been engaging in with male victims, basically. So the use of weapons to force sex, the use of physically coercive tactics like drugging, or threats like, if you don't have sex with me, I'm going to say that you raped me, that kind of thing. That's increased something like fourfold, right? This generation of women not only buys into, though has the worst attitude towards male rape victims of any generation currently alive, they also engage in raping men more than any generation currently alive, more than men do women. It's astounding, isn't it? Why don't we get that into the hostility towards men inventory? Doesn't that seem more like hostility towards men than, I don't know, even men who claim to be sensitive to men's rights want a woman to serve them? Like, that seems more hostility towards feminist men.
Yeah.
Let's capture the real hostility towards men. Like, men's only purpose is to pay the bills, right? Men should carry a woman's luggage, but a woman shouldn't have to make him a sandwich and thanks, that kind of thing. Let's capture the real hostility as opposed to this feminist framing, which again, it's flawed from the start.
Absolutely.
But then you look at like the actual study. I'm going to quote directly from the study. Feminist ideology and attitudes towards men. Inconsistent with expectations, correlational analyses of feminist ideology showed that it was not significantly related to explicit attitudes towards men, nor hostility towards men. Feminist ideology was negatively associated with benevolence to men. So yeah, feminists are about as, quote, on the feminist scale of being hostile towards men, feminists are about as hostile as any other woman. They just are less benevolent. And that result was framed by this Amber Wardell, PhD in bullshit, as evidence of debunking the anti-male feminist. And this is why, okay? This is why they don't want you guys listening to us. Because we say the things they most don't want people to hear, which is their behavior towards some of the most vulnerable people in our society, which are victims of domestic violence and sexual assault.
Yep.
Okay, let's
all right. Let's keep going.
Keep going.
What does this tell us about the future
What?
Oh, keep going. That's all I said.
of feminism? Misandry is a myth. Although it is true that there are some feminists who identify as misandrists, those women are the exception, not the norm. To those men who apply not all men arguments to every discussion about men's harms toward women, this should be a relatively easy concept for them to grasp. There is some.
Why do you apply not all men?
Yeah, but when men make those arguments, you shut them down, and then there's like things like hashtag yes all men, but you don't have like any desire to like debunk that. And also, again, we're back at that square one of like, well, how do you define misandry? Because if you're saying, well, we're not destroying men, we're just destroying patriarchy. Well, what's the collateral damage of what that is? How do you define what you're destroying when you call it patriarchy?
Exactly.
Like, misandry is the myth. That's true. Yeah, they just found out. It's over, guys. Pack it up. Let's go home. Misandry it doesn't exist. The Psychology Today professor person said so. So I guess I'm wasting my time. I've been doing this for 12 years. Just wasting my time.
Me 2023 now.
Yeah,
Wasting my
we're done.
time.
Allison, I'm sorry. We were wrong all along. If it wasn't for this random person on Psychology Today, fucking Amber Wardell, PhD, I wouldn't have known that I've been wasting my time with all this. So I guess we're done after this. This is our last show officially. I'm kidding.
Yeah, we're kidding. Don't.
Don't leave. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, let's keep going.
All right.
That women are more likely to identify as misandrists when they have first gained consciousness of their own oppression. Downing and Rausch, 1985. Over time, as they become more aware of the systems that underpin sexism and sexist oppression in a patriarchal culture, they disengage from the hatred of individual men and begin engaging with systems instead. If misandry exists at all, it appears to be a belief system with a short half life that exists in only a small portion of all self-identified feminists.
Okay, over time, as they become more aware of the systems that underpin sexism and sexist oppression in a patriarchal culture, they disengage from the hatred of individual men and begin engaging with systems instead. What systems are you talking about?
System.
Yeah, but
The
what are
system
those
of patriarchy. Well, for example, the system patriarchy is stigmatizes male victims of domestic violence and sexual assault. That's the patriarchy. It's whatever.
But they're not going after that. They're not going after that.
Yeah, of course they're not. They're just going to blame it on patriarchy so they don't have to. So they can insist that male victims continue to fight for feminism because one day patriarchy will be vanquished, and and as a result of that, you'll finally get heard, men. So fight against, go join feminists fight against patriarchy, men, because once patriarchy is vanquished, you'll finally get your issues dealt with. Of course, it's been 70 years and it's only gotten worse for male victims of domestic violence as a result of feminist advocacy, which I feel like we could discuss now. Okay. Or actually, you know what I'm going to bring up is, let's look at the Springer link.
Worth the risk? Is that the one?
Yes.
Okay. Should I just go where it opened up hypothesis? Should I go to the top of this article?
Let's see, I can't actually see it because it's just zoomed in on you. For some reason, I can't get it off. I can't get Video Ninja off of a giant.
Hold on.
I don't know why that is.
Is that really how it is? Let me see. Can I do something?
I mean, I could just leave and come back, maybe.
No, you can look at it. Oh, is it a bug?
It's not a bug. It's like I don't know. There's a bunch of stuff. Oh, goddamn. You know what? I'm just gonna. What the heck is? You know what? I'm just gonna come back. All right, I'll come back.
All right, come back. Just come back. Let's see what you guys are saying in the chat. Allison will be back in a second. Seems to be something wrong here. Darthsky Rios, they want to be the top where we're the slave to serve until we have no value and then get discarded. I mean, I don't know. Like, the more I look into it, I think that the goal of feminism is just to unravel everything. And there's no real endpoint. Hold on a second, Allison. Don't say anything because I gotta like put you back in and nobody can hear you if you're talking. So just give me a second to plug you back in. Okay, let me see if that worked. Did that work? Yeah, there you go. All right. Now, can you see it?
Yeah, I can see it now. Get the super chats in, guys. feedthebadger.com/justthetip. You guys have been quiet. It's a little disconcerting. Is this a topic you guys aren't interested in?
Well, there's a lot of people watching the vertical chat.
Okay.
There's a lot of new people. Yeah, we had about 300 people at one point on the vertical, but still pretty good. Over 100 all combined. So gotta get on kick though.
Okay.
I don't think the endpoint's actually matriarchy. I think that it's meant to just destroy everything. Like, when you talk to these people, they always say that we just have to burn everything down and then something new will rise from the ashes. So there's kind of like this wooey thing, or it just like becomes communism. Like, I mean, that's another play. It just goes there. Well, capitalist structures are basically patriarchal structures. Is like the other thing that they want. And yeah, I mean, That's usually how it goes.
Okay,
But anyway,
so this is Grass et al. 2023. And to summarize it, it finds that all people, but feminists in particular, choose to harm men to benefit women. I want that to sink in. So we can have this discussion about whether or not feminists express hostile sexism towards men and how much benevolent sexism they express towards men as defined by feminists. But here's where the rubber hits the road, right? This study looked at instrumental harm. So what that means is, are you willing to harm men in order to gain a benefit for women? So are you willing to, for example, send a generation of young men into Afghanistan to create women's, or to supposedly support women's rights, that the instant when they leave, the women are just going to be like, we're not going to sacrifice for those rights. We'll just put on the burqas. Right? A generation of young men going into there to sacrifice for women's rights that the women themselves would never sacrifice that much for. But that makes sense because you're supposedly helping women. So sacrificing men to build a better situation for women. Feminists are 100% behind that compared to everyone else. And in fact, the gender difference, like the willingness to sacrifice men to benefit women, the gender difference, so women are more likely to be willing to do that than men to a degree. The gender difference reduces if you remove feminists from the female pool. So it's feminists in many ways that are skewing women towards wanting to sacrifice men to benefit women. So we can talk about women or feminists implicit or explicit sexism towards, but this is where it really hits the road. Feminists are willing to sacrifice men if they feel like it will benefit women. I want you guys to just think about that, right? And I want to talk about a couple examples of feminists doing just that, right? Let's look at domestic violence, male victims of domestic violence. There used to be a gender-neutral family violence act in the States that covered men and women. I mean, it was sort of a patchwork on the local level, but it was not explicitly gendered. Feminists made that, replaced that with a explicitly gendered Violence Against Women Act. And then they demanded, because they can do this, guys, the feminists that do not represent the status quo, they can do things like demand that the police institute particular policies like the mandatory arrest policy. I'm doing the bird hand. I'm sorry, guys. I'll try to not do the bird hand. How about the squid hands? Are the squid hands good? Squid hands?
The Italian hands.
Italian hands. I don't know what's that. Okay. Mamma mia. Okay.
Give me some Italian hands in the chat, guys.
Yes. Tell me what kind of hands you want me to do when I'm making these points. So
yeah,
they went to the police. They demanded mandatory arrest laws. What does that mean? That means that whenever the police go to a domestic, someone has to be led away in cuffs. And what happened as a result of the mandatory arrest laws that feminists demanded that police do is that the number of women being arrested for domestic assault shot up. It like increased in some cases like 400%, right? It shot up. So that became a larger and larger proportion of those being arrested. And the feminists are like, whoa. Of course, we could have stopped right there and said, hey, this isn't panning out the way the feminists said it would. We aren't actually ending up with more men arrested for domestic assault. I mean, we're a few more, but we're ending up with massively more women. So maybe the feminist belief systems around domestic violence are incorrect since they're not playing out in reality. What they predicted is not playing out in reality. You know, that whole a theory has to have predictive, has to be able to predict things to become a theory. You know, that's not holding true. Maybe we should look at the anti-feminist, not the anti-feminist, the non-feminist research into domestic violence that was showing that there was a high number of female perpetrators. In fact, it was most likely parity between men and women. So this was a confirmation of the non-feminist analysis of domestic violence. What do you think happened with the feminists? Like, oh, wow, you know, This is direct proof that what we say isn't correct when it comes to domestic violence. As legitimate researchers, when we see counter evidence for our theories or our conjecture, we need to go back. No, absolutely not. No, at no point did sense or reason come into the picture. Instead, the feminists went back to the police, cracked their whip, which I don't know when did we decide that the feminist was going to have control over the police? When did the general population vote on that? I don't recall that, but right, they cracked their whip and they put in primary aggressor policies. What are the primary aggressor policies? Well, we could go through them, but they basically mean arrest the man. So now, as a result of feminist influence on the police and the feminist refusal to at all question their ideology and their ideology's conclusion, right now, abused men are more likely to be arrested than their female abusers. That's the situation for abused men now. Now, it's worse than a coin toss for an abused man. If he calls the police, worse than a coin toss, whether or not he's going to see justice or he's going to be the one being let off in cuffs. Thanks to feminist advocacy. That's the situation for abused men. And it gets worse because not only did feminism create this situation that is directly harming abused men, leading to their discrimination, their crass, gross, grotesque discrimination in law and policy in regards to domestic violence. Not only did feminists do all that, they compounded it by justifying it. And what did they do to justify it? They created a whole bunch of scholarship that takes the discrimination that they built into the system and uses it to prove that men deserve the abuse that they experience. So they go to the female abusers and they say, "Oh, hey, well, why'd you do it?" And of course, the female abuser says, "Because he deserved it." And then because these abused men now have a worse than a coin toss chance of having their abuse in the record, as they are the abused ones versus them being the abusers, the feminists go back to those records and say, "Hey, look at that. Look at that. That abused man was actually an abuser because he was arrested because of the policies we put in place to arrest abused men." And now this clusterfuck, this massive clusterfuck that's been going on for 50 years of feminists putting into policy that discriminates against male victims of domestic violence, overtly discriminates it. The clusterfuck, this entire clusterfuck, do you know what feminism does? When anyone speaks out against it, who do they blame? Patriarchy. Patriarchy is responsible for feminists working for the last 50, 60 years to discriminate against male victims of domestic violence. Because apparently patriarchy doesn't want to recognize male victims. Can you freaking believe, like this is like that? You look at this and you're like, this is proof that Satan exists. This is proof that Satan walks among us. Right? This is so fucking evil. And then you have Miss Amber Wardell here with her duping delight telling us all that feminists don't hate men. Boy, if you don't hate men, you're not doing a very good job of proving it through your actions. Well, maybe you don't hate men. Maybe you're just profoundly indifferent to the cost of your advocacy on men.
Mm-hmm.
Like how do we go back? How do we just be like, "Oh, my both sides with this shit"? How do we even forgive this? And this is just one example, one issue. We could go through this with sexual assault and Mary Koss and how she influenced a government body to erase male victims of rape from the statistics. We could go through this with
Oh, and
parental
also
alienation.
expand the definition of rape only when,
Yeah.
men are the perpetrators,
Yes.
and then told, the governments that according to this data, there should be way more convictions because there's way more male rapists out there. So you got to get convictions. And so they were just getting convictions, or the colleges were doing it, or the military is doing it. And so like they create this lie about what happens, and then they say, well, the reality doesn't match my lie, so you guys got to change the reality to match.
Yeah, and they get it done. And then they call, like, there's no way that there is a patriarchy that allows feminists to do crap like this. But
Yep.
but that's but it does make more sense that feminists are exploiting the general desire for people generally to have men sacrifice to benefit women. Because so in general, people are okay with that. It seems more likely that feminists are exploiting that than they're victims of it. Like, so, like, and that's that, like I said, that's just one. That's one example. And it's so egregious. It's so horrifyingly wrong. And of course, all of these feminists, like Amber Wardell, they're just running along the edge of this gigantic lie that they've constructed about reality. And in order to construct the lie, they've thrown male victims of domestic violence under the bus. They've thrown male victims of sexual assault under the bus. They've thrown male victims of genital cutting under the bus. They've thrown male victims of parental alienation under the bus, of the family courts under the bus, of false accusations under the bus. They have thrown male victims under the bus over and over and over and over again. Now, the previous article talked about how men are feeling misogynist because women like rich, hot men. Yeah, I don't think that's what's making men misogynist.
Yeah.
I don't think so. At least not the ones who are listening to us. The sheer
I mean, I don't really
perfidy.
think that men. I don't think that men generally hate women, anyways. They're
No,
frustrated with them. They're hurt by them. But I don't think they hate them. Even the ones who claim to, they probably don't.
no.
But because I think that it's fair to be and understandably angry about it. But I don't think, and I think that we know, it's not really good to become
Well,
hateful.
I'm freaking furious.
Yeah, but you don't hate women. I mean, I know, I get close. I get close sometimes, but
Close.
it's tempting for sure.
Well, the fact is that it really bugs me that not more women call this out. Like, it really bugs me. That bothers me a lot.
Yep.
Not more women are fighting against this and saying, feminism doesn't speak for me as a woman. There is no way that a group of people who can do that speaks for me. And then, what's really disturbing about all this? Okay. This has been hard to take. Like, just the sheer level of mendacity and neglect, at best neglect, that feminists have shown male victims of almost everything except patriarchy. But that's being a victim of yourself, right? Okay.
Yeah.
The sheer level of callous cruelty and indifference, that's that. I can almost understand that because, it's men, right? In the context of feminists' own theories, men are the devil, right? They're the ones who oppress women. So, no bad action, no bad tactics, only bad targets, right? But then I realized they will sacrifice women for their abstract concept of what benefits women, which they define. And also they can't really define women, what a woman is, but apparently it's whatever gives feminism clout, money, and power. Whatever a woman needs to be in order to give feminism the right to censor everyone else, control the narrative, and get the money. And they will throw women under the bus. And I have seen evidence of that. And again, going back to the 80s, when psychologists were trying to deal with sexual assault as a mental health issue in order to reduce the rate, and feminists said, but that doesn't benefit feminism. Fewer female victims of rape. doesn't benefit feminism because the strategy to go about getting that happening doesn't support feminist ideology. And wrap your heads around that one. They don't care about anyone. They don't care about men. They don't care about women. They want to be perceived to care about women. They don't want to actually care about women. They just care about themselves and the money they make and the censorship that they can engage in, the power that they can have over others. Like I said,
their livelihood depends on keeping this alive. Like that's how they make their money.
Yep.
So they don't care what the collateral damage of these lies is because they want to keep their jobs. They want to keep their, hold on to their power, keep their tenure, whatever it is. So.
Yeah. Yeah.
Allison just stepped away suddenly.
No,
I guess it was the void cat.
No, I'm here. I'm here.
All right.
What are Trump hands?
We haven't got any super chats. Is there anything stuck in the tubes?
No, there's nothing. Everybody's been quiet today. Come on, guys.
Yeah, I mean, we have a lot of people chatting. By the way, as an aside, I want to tell you guys, if you're watching on YouTube and you're wondering what the little crown is next to your name, there's, I guess, like a little bit of a mini game going on within the YouTube chat. So the person who has the most comments gets a number 1, second most gets a number 2, and third most gets a number 3.
Nothing is stuck.
It's just a silly little thing that YouTube does. So right now, Jim Bottle is number 1 on the I believe it's on the horizontal, I think, and Eric Schiedler is number 1 on the vertical. So I don't know, just letting you know if you guys want to compete. you can just put a lot of comments in. That's whoever's commenting to the most gets the crown. I want to say it's like king, queen, jack. So are you a king, a queen, or a jack? That's basically where it is now. And I got a super chat from the other day. I should just read it out. This is from HBR Talk number 367 from Meredith G for 5. And she says, honey, for the Badgers, could it be that men who engage with masculinity influencers don't have positive places to go and already feel of less worth? And it doesn't, I mean, I don't know what the context is, but yeah, I think that's the thing. Like we've been saying this forever. Like when people talk about Fresh and Fit, the whatever podcast, Andrew Tate, and they're like, I don't know, like they're scared or complaining or whatever, freaking out about it. All I got to say is like, you created these people, you created them, and men are going there because you have nothing to offer them. So you don't. Yep. So yeah, I mean that's where they're gonna end up. And I'm frankly, I don't really care. That's why I don't go after those guys. I'm like, well, this is where men are going because I'd rather send them to those guys than you. So,
Good Lord.
Yes. Like Jesus, any day of the week.
Like this is I'm sorry. No, men should not try to get anything from these people. Like I just described what feminists did to male victims of domestic assault, and then they refuse to take any kind of responsibility for it at all and blame patriarchy. So they actually blame the men that are victims of them, that their complicity in the system is why they're discriminated against as victims of domestic. Can you believe that? Feminists construct this vast system of discrimination against male victims of domestic violence, and then they turn around and they blame the system that those victims are complicit within, that they're responsible. That's just the freaking audacity of that. The audacity. And then to turn around and say, well, we don't hate men. Oh, wow. Oh, well, if you don't hate men, you might, like, there's, what does it look like if you did? Okay. I did send another link.
Yeah, I got it.
This is to Tin Man's. I know he's more on the left, but I figured, I mean, his advocacy is legit, but let's take a look. This is not about shaming.
I have it up here. Do you want me to open his?
Just open up. Yeah, just open up his. Yes.
This isn't about sharing. Just the other week, I was helping a major university to set up one of these spaces to support men go alongside with Women's SU Network. Upon its announcement, it was rounded upon, torn apart, and canceled due to credible threats of violence. Credible threats?
From the feminists.
From the feminists. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, wait, you tried to like put something together in the hopes that you'd have like an egalitarian setup that was supposed to be the equal or a counter or a balance, fairness, equality to like some feminist group as well, and the feminists destroyed it? You must be new here. Like, you didn't think that was gonna happen? Look, Aaron Pitsy. I mean, like, what else is there to even say? But anyway.
Yeah. Yeah,
So you
exactly. What
said,
else is
do you
there to
want me
be
to read what you
said?
said, or?
Sure, if you want.
All right. You quote tweeted him and said, "This thread is full of testimonials about how anyone who treats men as having problems rather than being the problem is attacked and run out of town if they try to support men's mental health. I've heard this story over and over again.
Yeah.
Feminists dogpile on anything that has a hint of helping men outside of their ideological framework, that men are the problem." Okay.
Yeah, I
And
mean,
then
I think Tin Man's thread is much more important to look at.
yeah, let's go through it.
There's another bit of feminist perfidy that, like, and of course they'll say, "Oh, it's the algorithm that's making people anti-feminist." No, it's feminism.
Yeah, it's
It's
feminism existing.
Yeah, feminism. Your behavior is appalling. Like, what made you think? What? I'd love to have been the fly on the wall of the feminist meeting that said, "Okay, so what's the biggest impediment to us smashing the patriarchy? Male victims of domestic violence. Those fuckers need to go down." Like, how did that make sense? At what point in that horrific train of logic, why didn't any of you stop and say, you know, this makes us sound like cartoonishly evil supervillains?
I wanted to
Like,
link the
this is,
original post, but apparently I'm not allowed to. It's Alex
yeah,
State's site, though.
yeah, of course. I think maybe you've been blocked. I'm surprised I haven't
I
been.
mean, I haven't really said anything to him, but yeah, I guess so.
He might have blocked you because he blocked me, perhaps. I don't know.
Yeah,
But
okay,
let's
whatever.
the original post is irrelevant. What matters is the testimonial of men and some women who have tried to put together a place that recognizes male victims of anything and have been rushed by the feminist hordes and had what they're trying to create torn apart. Because male victims of anything are anti-feminist, because
Yeah,
feminists cannot recognize them and accept and have their narrative about reality be true. Just like I put you through that whole long thing about male victims of domestic violence, when they found out, when the police were starting to arrest more and more women, they didn't say, "Oh wait, feminists' framework about reality is not right." No, it's reality that's wrong. It's because male victims of these issues are reality, and that is the biggest counter argument to feminist reframing of reality. That's right. So recognizing male victims of these issues is the greatest anti-feminist act in the world.
yep,
Like, everything else can sort of be squeezed back into feminism except recognizing male victims, in particular of domestic violence and sexual assault. They're like water to the wicked witch. I'm melting, which is why feminists have to silence them and will only allow that they are discriminated against by patriarchy, which incidentally is feminists' biggest tool for silencing something.
mm-hmm,
Like, if you want to erase male victims of domestic assault off the map, you say it's patriarchy that's doing that. Right? Then the focus is no longer on services for male victims or hearing male victims or giving them a voice or recognizing the problems they face. Now the focus is back on feminism and their grand fight against patriarchy. And also, male victims of domestic assault. Yeah, they're complicit with their own silencing because they take part in a system that privileges men over women while simultaneously causing men to be disadvantaged in ways that are entirely consistent with feminist framework. But we don't talk about that.
mm-hmm.
Okay, I've done a lot of squirreling today.
No, it's
I've
fine.
squirreled substantially.
So, what are we doing now? I can't see the
absolutely no.
original the original post that Tin Man is sharing because Alex State Psych has me. Well, he's limited who can view his posts. So
Can
I
you
guess
look
I'm
at the
not
ones
allowed.
underneath and read some of the
So
testimonials of
Dad
how
Matters says the second a boys club is created, loud screeching, it's a misogynist haven for rapists and incels. Followed by an irrelevant tweet about crab fishing and elephant hunting. Consume at 93 says, okay, is that what the men at Date Psych is referring to? Actually complaining about it, though? Tin Man says it's a straw man presenting the argument as one exclusively about computer games and Star Trek toys. He's
Okay, so
equal
the
parts naive and disingenuous. We're talking about
what
spaces
Date
for men's
Psych
mental
said.
health, not cartoons, which are essential and routinely greeted with hostility and threats.
Oh, I think I can read it. Now, let's see. No, I can't. No, I think he oh no, I guess I'm also banned by Date Psych. He finally did it. But what he said
Yeah.
is that men need to create spaces where women would never go, which is like crab fishing and elephant hunting. And people were like, well, men create spaces and no matter what, feminists go and shut them down. And Okay. So Martin James Seeger, I was asked to speak at the launch of a support network space for men at a UK university, but the whole project has now been canceled and attacked. So my talk has been binned, and this is the story state of gender equality in the UK universities. Only dangerous male spaces go untouched. Yeah, that's the case. Like
Yep.
literally anytime men are like, well, I like to support group for male victims of sexual assault, the feminists come out in their hordes, destroy them. And they wonder why they keep driving men who will not listen to feminists at all and have
Yep.
the clout not to. Like, let's face it, Andrew Tate has made a shit ton of money as a pornographer. And now he is relatively untouchable because of that. That's not me lauding him, but he can actually talk outside somewhat this sphere, although in my mind I think that he's also controlled opposition. I think he's chosen he's
Well,
chosen to
I
be
think I think there's a lot of I'm not saying that he doesn't really believe what he believes, but I do think that speaking of algorithms, I do think that he and Fresh and Fit and the whatever podcast, basically the men who are the easiest to dismiss as the sort of like face of the manosphere are the ones that get pushed to the forefront the most. Because like Andrew Tate basically came out of nowhere, and we've been doing this for a decade or more, and like no progress. Now I
no,
think
we
that
made
it's because
slow
there is some
progress.
like, well, no, I mean like not to the same degree. Like the
Oh,
whatever
hardly though.
podcast just has like they just talk. I mean, I can't even watch those because they're like just it's so brain draining, but they're massive. And I think part of it is that there is like a desire to make those the face of what we do, because those people are the easiest to dismiss. They can be like, oh well, that's what the Manosphere talks about, and it's like, no, we're not. Those guys are too young. They're not married. They don't have kids. Or Andrew Tate has lots of kids, I guess, but he's not talking about those issues, right? So like what we're talking about is stuff that really matters, I think. And I think that it's like a higher quality of conversation, but that's the reason why we stay small, because they don't, at
Yeah.
least one of the reasons. And I think it's because ultimately we can't get out there. Like, Tim Pool just did a big talk about like women and feminism, like a big debate with a bunch of different people. And it was like it went nowhere. Like I watched it and I was like, this is just like no one knows what they're talking about. Like, and this is huge. Like, and we met Tim Pool a couple times. I mean, I did. So, it's just like the conversation there is control over where the conversation goes. I don't think Tate is getting paid off to be like, controlled opposition, but I do think that it's you can do it for nothing if you just control how much exposure people get versus others. And I think that's what it is, honestly.
Well, and I think I mean a lot of it is also, I think what we talk about is a bit more like it's not as easy to digest. And I don't know, also it is much more like the main counter arguments to feminism is the actual situation for men. Because the null hypothesis is that men in power does not equal men benefiting. And the way that you prove the null hypothesis is to look at the situation for women and look at the situation for men when men are in power. If the situation for men is worse, holding men in power constant, because you can't assume what you seek to prove, right? Then men in power doesn't benefit women. Or sorry, men in power doesn't benefit men, which means the entire framework of feminism is destroyed, right? And it is utterly destroyed. So the bravest men in all of this are the men who speak out about how they have been victims of these issues, because they are actually speaking out, speaking truth to power. They are actually speaking truth to power, because feminism is power. There's no way they can argue any different when they're able to walk into a police department and make their demands met. Like the police, who decided that the feminists could oversee the police for the rest of us? When did that happen? Like, when was the justification of that? When did we get to vote on that? And yet they do. They have this incredible influence over the police, over politicians, over NGOs, constructing NGOs. You know, everywhere they go, they have incredible power, and they throw it around like thugs, and they use it to silence vulnerable men. This woman says that debunking the myth of the man-hating feminist, and this other woman's like, oh, men are going on the internet and they're becoming anti-feminist. This is basically what she means by misandry or misogyny and sexism.
They're questioning the narrative.
It is your moral duty to oppose feminism. It is everyone's moral duty to oppose it.
Yep. It's built on
and you
lies.
cannot let them hide behind their bullshit about equality. They are using equality like the ministries in 1984. The Ministry of War used peace. The Ministry of Lies used the word truth. The Ministry of Hate used the word love. Feminists use the word equality to hide what they're actually doing. There is no way that their behavior towards male victims of domestic assault is justified, is justifiable. And if there was any justice in the world, they would be hauled up in front of a Nuremberg trial for this, or a Nuremberg-like trial for this. There's no way it's justified. And the only way that it's going to end is if we march through their rhetoric around misogyny, around equality, around whatever else they want to say. Oh, you're harming women. Oh, this is dangerous towards women. That's the other thing that they hide behind. Remember the T-app? Oh, it's going to cause women to be in danger. We need to be able to dox men. You know, they always go and they always grab onto those rhetoric. We need to march through that minefield and drag out this nest of perfidy and expose it to the world for what it is. And I mean that metaphorically, with our words. We need to bear witness. Maybe make a freaking book and write it down in it. The new face of the whore of Jezebel, the whore of Babylon, the new face of Jezebel. Because this is it. And this is 100% deserved. There is no excuse for what feminists have done to male victims of domestic violence and sexual assault. No excuse in the freaking world for it. They have no moral legitimacy. And like I said, in a just world, they'd be facing a criminal court for these actions. Okay. I'm really this entire thing, like AI has been an eye-opener for me because I've been using it to delve into this shit. So I don't just like ask Grok questions. I use it to like fetch things. And yes, it has been improving its accuracy. So
yeah.
And it's just been a flipping nightmare. because it's
All
like
right.
it's tearing open the soft underbelly of this horror.
Mhm.
Okay. All right. So we did get a super chow as well, by the way.
Oh, we did. I don't see. Oh yeah, I did get one. Void Cat gives us $10 and says, "Meow, ha 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 ha." Thank you,
I'm
thank you,
surprised
Void
Void
Cat.
Cat hasn't made an appearance.
And
She's
then
a social media.
Albatross gave us a super chat and for $5 and says, "It's literally the Principal Skinner meme. Am I that out of touch? No, it's society that's all wrong." Yes, that's exactly it. And so now society has to match my assumptions. It was like
Hmm.
it's like the first when you like take a science ethics class, literally the first thing you learn. The first thing you learn in freaking high school, if not grammar school. I think I learned it in grammar school. Is like that bias, confirmation bias. It's like the first thing you learn. Like 11-year-old kids know that. And feminism operates on that, literally,
Hmm.
as a principle. But anyway.
Okay.
So
This one got me
anything,
fired up, guys. So
yeah.
I did squirrel quite a bit. I don't know, like, I'm not going to tolerate any ma both sides arguments in this case. Like,
Good.
there is no compromise.
Good.
There is no compromise here. There's no compromise with this behavior.
I can feel your anger.
You should be angry at feminists.
I know, yeah.
Like, did you like just think about what I've told you guys. Any normal human being with a functioning sense of ethics should be infuriated by what feminism did to male victims of domestic violence and sexual assault, but I didn't cover that. And then infuriated about what feminism is doing to anybody who so much as tries to get these victims recognized and get them services. Anybody with a working freaking qualm should be qualming right now.
Yep.
Yep.
For sure. All right. Well, do you want to wrap it up?
Yeah, I think that I've
Okay.
covered everything.
Yeah, I think we did. We ranted, raved.
We raved, we qualmed.
Yep. Yelled.
Okay.
And I touched way too much grass.
Well, you'll have to tell us if you have a grass stream. Like,
I basically climbed a mountain today.
wow.
And I'm exhausted. We went to, that was what I sent you the picture of, was McAfee Knob. Lindsay,
okay.
JoJo, and me went up to McAfee Knob, took the trail. It's on Appalachian
Did you keep him
Trail,
on
which
leash?
is like what?
Did you keep him on leash?
Oh yeah, you have to, yeah. But we were
Okay, good.
freaking dying on the way back. It was so long. I was like, this is anyway, it was rough, but we did it. So I'll just take that. Paul Elam did that. He did that same trail like a few years ago. So killed him too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh
That's
man.
why he doesn't
Okay.
post that much, because he's dead. So
Sorry, he's not dead, is he?
no, he's not dead. I'm saying that the hike killed him.
Killed him. Oh, okay.
No, occasionally he comes out of his sarcophagus to like post some stuff on X, but
Or
then
go
he
on
returns to it, so.
on Pearl streams.
Yeah.
All right.
Pearl,
So
yeah.
okay, well let me double check. I'll poke the voles and see if there's anything in the chute. Once again, feedthebadger.com/just. Oh, are you gonna put up the little badgers so I can do
Let
this?
me yeah, hold on. I gotta
Okay, so feedthebadger.com/just the tip if you want to send us a message. Very quiet day, although a lot of people in chat. That's good. I hope you didn't mind me getting this irate and putting my foot down, because there is no compromise with this crap. And yes, you should be angry. You should be furious at feminists for what they've been doing. Okay. So feedthebadger.com/just the tip if you want to express your rage, your righteous rage at feminists, or just comment on me. Call me a misogynist because I am an anti-feminist. And if you want to support the show, feedthebadger.com/support. And if you would like to join us, the next meetup is going to be Calgary, Alberta, Canada, September 13th. And please RSVP at badger@feedthebadger.com, or you can go to feedthebadger.com/events to find out more information. Love to see you there. but it's sort of important to make sure you are going because we do have a venue and the venue has limited availability of seating. So please do send a message to badger@feedthebadger.com if you want to come. And I'll do one last check to see if any of you have responded to my super chow signal. Nope. Okay. All right. So
All right.
I guess I'll hand it back to you, Brian. So I think
Okay, well,
I got everything done.
What?
I got
What'd you
everything
say?
done. I'm pretty sure. Yeah.
All
I'm
right.
good.
Yeah, no, it's all good.
I'm a little
Okay, guys.
exhausted.
Well, if you like this video, please smash that like button. Subscribe to the channel if you're not already subscribed. I do see some new people, especially in the vertical. So welcome to the show. I hope you guys consider subscribing. And hit the bell so that you know when our streams go live, because again, YouTube is not our friend here. And was again, leave me a comment. Let us know what you guys think about what we discussed on the show today. We love reading your comments, and this is like a conversation that we want to see take place. And please, please, please share this video because sharing is caring. Thank you guys so much for coming on today's episode of Maintaining Frame, and we'll talk to you all in the next one.
Men's right activists are machines, dude. Okay? They are literal machines. They are talking point machines. They are impossible to fucking deal with, especially if you have like a couple dudes who have good memory on top of that too. Holy shit, you're fucked.